As the music plays, we'd like to invite you to just relax, close your eyes, rest in the presence, and hold space.
Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari
Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online Satsang. Satsang is a Sanskrit word that means literally community of truth. We could translate it in a humbler way as spiritual community. Wherever two or more people who are on the path of awakening and transformation of consciousness come together to share their presence, to share their journeys, to share their energy and encouragement with one another, we have a satsang. It's very important. It's a essential piece of the spiritual process of awakening and the flowering of the heart, is to join together with others that are also awakening. As you go further and further down the road of awakening, you discover that you have more in common with people who are awakening, who are part of other belief systems than your own. A Buddhist would find more in common with an awakened Christian than some of their own fellow Buddhist meditators. And same with a Christian that might be so invested in it's got to be a Christian group. When they begin to awaken, we'll begin to notice, oh my gosh, I have so much resonance with Sufis and Buddhists and Taoists who are awakening and whose hearts are flowering. We have more in common than what differentiates us as soon as we begin to awaken. Awakening is so essential on planet Earth right now because all the problems we're facing, all the war, all the crazy politics and polarization going on all over the world is rooted in the misperception, the delusion of separate existence. Most of us feel that we exist as separate individuals. And so we're scared of each other. You might hurt me. You might take advantage of me. You might not have my best interests at heart. So that gives rise to competition, which we praise in our children from the time that they're in the playground playing games. We encourage good, healthy competition. And then it continues in school, all through academics, and sports and business. So competition engenders conflict. And conflict ultimately produces violence and war. And so this is the story of human history. Competition, conflict, violence. That needs to change quickly on planet Earth to cooperation, harmony and peace. Cooperation instead of competition. Harmony instead of conflict, and peace instead of war and violence. That happens when a being is awakened and their hearts begin to flower. As we begin to awaken, we look into each other's eyes and you see yourself looking back at you through my eyes. And so there's no more fear because I'm not going to hurt myself. The truth is, we are one universal being. We are not 8 billion separate human beings and consciousnesses. We are expressions of one being and one consciousness. And it's who you are. It's your true self. When we awaken to that, then fear goes away and competition goes away and we begin to have cooperation and harmony. Now this needs to happen on a global level. So we're looking forward, because awakened consciousness is contagious, just like negativity. I mean, we know negative people and pessimism, that's so contagious. But enlightened positive consciousness is exponentially more powerful. So every time somebody begins to awaken, it ripples out and affects the collective of humanity. That's why mass human unconsciousness took out people like Christ, Mahatma Gandhi, Buddha, other great spiritual teachers were having such an effect on the collective consciousness, just one of them, that the masses rose up and extinguished or tried to extinguish their light. It didn't really work. I mean, Buddha's teachings are still transforming the world. Mahatma Gandhi's teachings are still transforming the world. Certainly the teachings of Christ and countless other spiritual teachers that were faced great opposition. You can't stop the light of enlightened consciousness. And we live at a time now that is so great because there are more awakened beings on planet Earth than there have ever been in human history, and people who are in the process of awakening. So it's not as simple as just silencing one leader like Gandhi or Christ or Buddha. There's no way you could stop us now. There are just too many of us. And what we've got is more contagious than any silly, well, I'm not making light of the pandemic, but the pandemic of awakening is far more potent and is in the process of transforming human consciousness. One day, there will be enough of us that consent and open to awakening that it will begin to shift the collective consciousness from this feeling of alienation and separate existence to the feeling of, oh my gosh, we're all family. Why don't we start to help each other and stop making war? I mean, it just makes perfect sense if you're awakened. It cannot be achieved through political ideologies or through philosophies or through religions. Humanity's tried all of these things with sincere efforts for many, countless thousands of years. What has to happen is a phenomenon of grace. We can't awaken ourselves. We've tried, but the good news is that this universal consciousness I was mentioning, that some people call the light, some people call it God, some people call it Buddha mind, it is disposed to want to help us and to grant us the grace of awakening. I've been involved in the work of the Dharma for over 50 years in my present lifetime, and it used to be really tough on people when they began to awaken. There are so many difficulties and obstacles. It's well worth facing them one and all. But so many of us have become awakened now. There's so much grace flowing, and the divine is shining so much light on humanity that it's easier and quicker to awaken. So basically all we have to do is say yes and begin to drink in the presence. 50 years ago was a real challenge to help someone evolve to the point where they could actually feel the divine presence. Now, you just walk into a group of people like us and people are going, what is this? What is this? You know, this feels good. And speaking of that, we're sharing throughout these webcast satsangs the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is one of many forms of blessing at work on the planet now. The divine is just seeking every doorway to help consenting souls to awaken to their true nature, which is the divine itself. If you go deep enough inside, you come to a place where you discover your own inner divinity, and it's already enlightened, and it's already God realized. It's divine. So what we've been looking for has been inside of us all along. The Flowering Heart Blessing activates the experience, the beginning of actually experiencing the reality of the indwelling light of the divine. And once that activation happens, it begins to expand like a supernova. The light begins to flood out of the center of your spiritual heart and penetrate every layer of your being. The spiritual layer, and there's enlightenment, and the soulish layer, and that's all the inner work with charges and wrong thinking and programming. The divine presence itself will melt all of that in a flash of light. Usually it's a process over time, and replace it with thoughts and feelings and programs that are actually in harmony and oneness with the divine will itself. It also penetrates the physical, the outer layers of our being, and brings healing, physical healing. The Flowering Heart Blessing and all forms of blessing from the divine don't just bring wholeness to your spiritual consciousness, but will also bring healing to your physical body. So many people, even people on the spiritual path, don't really understand how that works yet. But we're going to be seeing more and more healings, physical healings that seem supernatural, miraculous. And that same light shining through spirit, soul, body shines into our relationships with our families, our loved ones, our friends, and brings healing to relationships and transformation, and then it just keeps on rippling out to infinity. So that's what happens when the heart begins to flower. The flowering heart blessing is a gift from the divine, a gift of grace and presence, of enlightened awareness that causes this process of awakening and transformation to unfold in the receiver. When the divine, and there are many other forms of blessing in Sanskrit, often called Diksha or Shakti Pat, other traditions, Pho in the Tibet. There are all kinds of names in the various esoteric mystical traditions. They all have some form of transmission of light that effects awakening very quickly and wonderfully. It just used to be so hard to find it and get it. Now, blessings all over the place, whether it's Christian blessing or Reiki, or whether it's, the Buddhist transmission of the Dharma, or some form of Hindu Diksha. This one, the divine, Suzanne and I have been involved in the transmission of spiritual energy for years and years. But about over 7 years ago now, we felt a shift and we'd been sharing a certain blessing for years that was really having a wonderful effect in helping people. The divine said, I want you to start to share this, the flowering heart blessing, which even has a Sanskrit name, but who cares? And the divine said, it was new to us. I'm sure it's not new. I'm sure it's as old as the divine itself. But the divine said, this blessing does not come through an avatar or a master or a spiritual organization or hierarchy or any religion. It comes directly from me, from the divine source. And it's a gift of grace, so don't charge anybody anything for this. It's a gift. You don't own it. I do, the divine said. And I give it to whomever I please, and I give it as a gift of pure, unconditional love to anyone who consents to receive it. And incidentally, all of you are soaking in it, basking in it. Right now, it's just washing through you and over you, and just drink it in. And we'll keep it up. In fact, you can join us, because the divine said, not only is it a gift of grace that's free, tell people who connect with this and are interested in becoming blessing givers. The moment they receive the flowering heart blessing, the divine said, I initiate and activate them to be able to pass it on. So all you have to do is take an intent, ask the divine to flow through you, and the specifics are completely up to the divine. We don't control it at all. It's almost a misnomer to say we give it. We're just vessels or instruments through which divine grace is able to flow, to activate and to awaken others and cause their hearts to flower. Such a beautiful thing. Please do share it, starting with right now, since you're soaking in it. All you got to do, if you're new to this, is just ask the divine to pour the flowering heart blessing through you to everyone joining us tonight and everyone that will ever watch this video recording ongoing in the future. Because in spirit, there's no separation in time or space. Everything is here and now. So someone may stumble on this video 3 years from now, click play, and they would immediately feel the presence and the grace that we're experiencing here tonight. If you need help with that, we have a 36-minute video on our website, floweringheart.org, which has a guided meditation for initiation to give blessing, and a little bit more in-depth explanation than I'm giving in 5 minutes here. And you could just sit down with a friend. If you don't have a blessing circle you resonate with, invite one spiritual friend or someone who's even open, and just pull that video up on our website and hit play. 36 minutes later, you have someone who's ready to share a blessing because you can feel it. And do anything you want with that blessing. I shouldn't say anything, but feel free to use it, okay? What else?
Like or love, if you drop it in.
Oh, yeah. Give us a like or a love if you're on Facebook Live, please. Because we do go in at the end and we click on that and we get to see the names of people that drop in and don't leave a message. And that's wonderful. If you're at Vimeo, you're going to have to say something in the chat like, "Hi, I'm here, namaste," and just leave your name. If you're on LinkedIn or YouTube, well, you'll just have to email us, Michael or Suzanne at floweringheart.org. And we'd love to hear from you, really. So we open with, about 10 minutes of just silent meditation in the presence, and then a little explanation of what we're about, what we're doing. And then we open it to questions, answers, insights on the spiritual journey. It could be anything from reincarnation to life after death, but the more important, I think, and poignant questions are things that you're puzzling over or encountering in your own spiritual practice. Why does it seem dull? Why is it taking so long? What the heck is awakening anyway? And we all have these questions, and asking the right questions is a key to receiving inspiration, insight, clarity, and grace from the divine presence. Plus, it helps the whole group that gathers. So, let your questions roll. And we like the tough ones. I can hear John in the background going, But some of you ask challenging questions, but it's always, or make comments, that's always the divine just orchestrates it into a tapestry of insight for all of us. So don't hold back. Ask your heart, is there something that the divine, the Paramatma, the indweller would have you to share with the satsang? In the meantime, while I'm waiting for those questions that I can see are just rolling in, I've been sharing, not every week, but a lot of weeks, maybe most weeks lately, inspirational quotes from a website called inspiringquotes.com, of all things. And this one is 14 quotes about the joy of spending time alone. Ask any introvert, and they'll tell you there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. But you don't need to be an introvert to enjoy the solitary pleasure of doing your own thing on your own schedule. The blissful freedom and peace that come from spending time alone. Sometimes being alone is a way for us to refill our emotional well and give time and space to our thoughts without the buzz of activity that having other people around us can bring. It's also an important step in developing a creative mind. Neuroscientists, listen to this, neuroscientists have discovered that by directing our focus inward during times of solitude, we're using a different brain network than when we're engaging with others and directing our attention outward. But it isn't only artists and creators who can benefit from solitary reflection. We learn about ourselves when we choose to spend time alone. It gives us a chance to explore our thoughts and interests and develop a stronger sense of our own identity. Whether you live for those times when you can be by yourself, or you simply crave a few solitary moments before diving back into the wild rumpus of social life, these quotes about being alone will remind you that sometimes we are our own best company. So let's hear some of these quotes. Without great solitude, no serious work is possible. Pablo Picasso. For now, she need not think about anybody. She could be herself by herself. And that was what now she often felt the need of, to think. Well, not even to think. To be silent, to be alone. Virginia Woolf. I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity. Albert Einstein. I am now quite cured of seeking pleasure in society, be it country or town. A sensible man ought to find sufficient company in himself. Emily Bronte. Some people are alone by circumstance. They've lost a loved one or are enduring a breakup. And others like me are alone by choice. I don't mind being alone. I don't need to fill up every moment of my day with companionship. Amy Sedaris. Fall in love with your solitude. Rupi Kaur, poet. I love to be alone. I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude. Henry David Thoreau. Not only is it acceptable to be alone, at times it is positively to be wished for. It is in the interludes between being in company that we talk to ourselves. In the silence, we listen to ourselves. Then we ask questions of ourselves. We describe ourselves. And in the quietude, we may even hear the voice of God. Maya Angelou. Be alone. That is the secret of invention. Be alone. That is when ideas are born. Nikola Tesla. I have to be alone very often. I'd be quite happy if I spent from Saturday night till Monday morning alone in my apartment. That's how I refuel. Audrey Hepburn. I was a man who thrived on solitude. Without it, I was like another man, without food or water. Each day without solitude weakened me. Charles Bukowski. I restore myself when I'm alone. A career is born in public, talent in privacy. Marilyn Monroe. Do not whine. Do not complain. Work harder. Spend more time alone. Joan Didion. What a lovely surprise to finally discover how unlonely being alone can be. Ellen Burstyn. Those are good.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
I'll throw in one from Jesus. He had just spent a day ministering to multitudes, thousands of people, and healing thousands of people, and he was tired, wiped. And so he, as he was wont to do, he normally did this, he would always draw apart, and he'd leave the disciples, and he'd go up into the mountains or out in the wilderness, and he would pray and just spend time in silence and just refuel, drink it in, so he'd be ready to go the next time. And after this one, he told the disciples, all of them, come apart now and rest a while. Well, we used to joke when I was new to the ministry, when we would quote that, we would say, Jesus said, come apart and rest a while, or just come apart. It's that's really a key to not breaking down. and losing it with all of the, I mean, we experience so much chaos and noise in today's world. And I just thought this might speak to someone. And what does our friend Michael Franti say? Anytime you feel you're alone, don't.
Right.
Because people need people. Wherever you are, there are people who need people. So you're never really alone. Thomas Merton was a great Trappist monk who spent most of his time in silence and solitude in a hermitage. And he said, if you're thinking about entering the monastic life and becoming a hermit like me to get away from the tumult and the noise of humanity, forget it. Because when you shut the door to all of that and you open the door to your heart and look inside, there will be several billion human faces looking back at you, longing for liberation. And there you are. Because we're all one.
Yeah. So what's the one about how being alone is like unbearable in your youth and delicious in your maturity?
Yeah, that was Albert Einstein.
Yeah, that I can totally relate to that. Because when I was younger, my sister's 12 years older than me, and she would listen to like classical music or soft elevator music, and I'd be like, how can you listen to that stuff? I need something with life. I need something I can move to and dance with. And she said, you'll understand when you get older. And then in college, my rhetoric professor, I said, you know, I have to have the radio on all the time. I sleep with the radio on. I play it for my plants. It's on when I come home. It's on all the time. And he said, I wonder what it is about silence that bothers you. and over the decades, you know, finally one day when I was just contemplating that question, but I was alone, and I was just really contemplating things in my life that I had, you know, that had kind of planted little seeds that would blossom later, and that was one of them. And now I'm totally comfortable being alone, and I'm comfortable just, Michael and I can take, you know, an hour walk on the beach and hardly say anything to each other. And I used to just be so in my mind that I couldn't slow down enough just to. It's funny, when we first got together, I couldn't meditate, and Michael bought me all these different meditation cushions.
I thought I'd find the right one.
and I still just couldn't do it. And then I realized one day we were starting a process, and 20 minutes went by and I didn't even realize it. It felt like 30 seconds. And that was the first aha of, oh, I just meditated. Wow, that was really nice. So I like those quotes. They're really good.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was a teenager filled with angst, adolescent angst, I just felt I didn't fit anywhere. I felt, in a crowd, I felt very alone, because I'm looking around the room and no one was interested in what I'm interested in, which even then was like liberation from the collective delusional reality I saw us all in. I was seeking, and it's like no one related to where I was coming from. I felt so alone. And then I gave up thinking that I would fit in. That's not my reason for being on earth. Yeah, we still feel at times like we don't fit with this crowd or this group, or even sometimes at a family gathering, is anyone interested in what is, you know, grabbing my heart? And on a connection level, I feel oneness with everyone and with all that is. But on that other level, which is more emotional and psychological, sometimes you can feel very isolated. And you can use that, which is why Bo Lozov, who's a Buddhist teacher, who worked with Baba Ram Das to give birth to the prison ashram project, he realized that prisoners that were doing hard time, spending a lot of time alone, facing that terrible isolation and loneliness could use it like an ashram experience. Yeah, like a spiritual retreat. And so he wrote a book, We're All Doing Time. We're all doing time. Make use of it. And it's touched so many people's lives. So use the solitude to go inside and to discover yourself. In India, one of the processes that they put a lot of us through, some of us, was to be immersed in solitude and silence in total darkness for days on end. I mean, you didn't talk to anybody, hear anybody, no light, nothing to look at, nothing to do. I mean, in the beginning, for the first day or so, you twiddle your thumbs and tell yourself stories, but after a while it becomes more than boring. It's like, what do you do? And in that solitude and silence, you face yourself. The Taoists have a 9-year retreat. The Tibetan Buddhists have a 9-year retreat. The Kogi and Arahuaco indigenous people of Colombia, they also, in the training of their mamas, even their papas are called mamas if they're holy men or women. The traditional training was they would take a child at a very early age and put it in a cave for 9 years. And they would bring it food, but not allow it to see the outside world, just a little glimmer of light to keep them from going blind, because 9 years in total darkness, people go blind. And then after 9 years of learning to see with the eyes of the heart, they would say it's time. And they'd bring them out of the cave into the world, but those young people saw the world in a whole different way. So if you feel lonely, use it. It can work to your advantage. Well, I see y'all are gliding on my quotes lately. It's okay, but I know that there are things in your spiritual life that puzzle you. And you don't have to ask tonight, but one of the things we do in Satsang, on Wednesday night we have Satsangs here at Flowering Heart Center in person, and people gather with us, and people share their breakthroughs, but yes, they share their obstacles, the issues that they're facing, and we receive light to share with that member of the community, and it blesses all of us.
Yeah, and other members of the community might have a different perspective on it, and will say something else, and it really gets a really delicious conversation going.
Yep. But okay.
Which happens here sometimes too, when people ask a question, and it leads to other questions that people have or insights that they've had.
Indeed.
Group effort.
Yeah. Well, okay then. Let's dive in a little deeper, since nobody's coming out of their shell. That's okay. You're always welcome to just come and drink it in. But now, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and open your heart to the presence at the center of your being. And invoke the divine presence to fill you with grace, to flood you with the Flowering Heart blessing. The divine lives within you in its entirety. It's not like I've got a spark, you've got a spark, everybody's got a spark, and when we put it all together, then we have it. No. Rumi said, you are the entire ocean of God in a drop. It's all there within you. And this presence is all powerful. It is all knowing. It is all wise. It knows everything about you. It knows more about you and me than we know about ourselves. And the great great thing is the presence is unconditional love and loves us just the way we are. Any feelings of distance or separation from the divine are a construct of the mind that society and religion has helped build into the mind, but it's not the truth. The truth is you are one already with the divine source. We just need to awaken to see the truth, to experience the reality of our oneness with the divine, with each other, and with all that is. The divine even knows what you need before you ask, of course. But go ahead. You could ask for what you need, what you're longing for tonight, and then let it go and just open yourself to receive, to allow, to consent to the action of the presence within you. Receive the Flowering Heart blessing. Try to figure it out or think it through. Just let it go. Drink in the light of the presence. Receiving, keep drinking it in. Allow the divine to do what it yearns to do in you. blessing circle. Lift up your hands with your palms open, your eyes closed, your palms open, facing forward. And just invite the presence to pour the blessing through you to the others sitting in the circle with us, knowing that it's flowing back to you through all of them. Let us for a moment bring Turkey and Syria before the eyes of our hearts. Where so many, many thousands of people lost their lives in the earthquake a week ago. They're still finding people in the rubble that are alive a week later. And so, let us hold a strong intention that the divine will guide the rescuers to find those who can still be rescued, and to send divine beings, angels, to strengthen, to protect, to guard. And for those thousands upon thousands of souls that lost their lives, let us ask the divine to lift them up and take them into the light. For planet Earth, see the beautiful blue planet now in the middle of our circle, and let us invite the divine to pour healing through these blessings for Holy Mother Earth Gaia, to heal the skies, the lands, the waters, and all the creatures dwelling on this planet. Especially to heal and awaken the heart of humanity, to melt away the lust, the greed, the fear, the violence, and to fill it with peace, peace, peace. The earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the divine as the waters cover the sea. So be it. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Then whenever you're ready, open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just keep gazing at least one of our eyes as we enter the light meditation. Suzanne and I are filled with oceans of grace during the light meditation, and it just floods through every pore of our being to you. especially through our eyes that mystics have called the eyes the doorways of the soul. The light streams out through our eyes, the light of awakened consciousness. It streams in through your eyes, into your heart of hearts, causing the fires of divine love to burn brighter and brighter, the light of awakening to glow ever brighter within you. There's nothing to do but just keep looking. settles within us. Keep meditating as long as it feels right to you, or find a spot nearby to lie in Shavasana. That's to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open and turned upward, and just dissolve in gratitude in the presence. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine in us beholds the divine in you, and we bow to you. Namaste.